Welcome everyone to a special pop-up workshop, how to make your offer spread itself. You are in the right place if you have signed up and indeed showed up for this special pop-up workshop. All that was asked in return for this bonus content is that you give a little love by sharing a comment to the Solopreneur's manifesto and then restack that post. So for those of you here, thank you for playing along and doing that. There's a little bit of a method to my madness with the way that this workshop was created and what was required to get in. And hopefully through the course of this experience, you'll not only understand the idea of an idea virus and how to make an offer spread itself, but you will have seen how I actually helped create an example of this in real time. So I'm somewhat famous for trying to create meta experiences within my workshops. And so you are learning the thing in part by experiencing the thing. So you are in the right place if you are ready to turn your forever offer or whatever your product or service is into an idea virus that is sticky and contagious and self-spreading. What I suggest you do next is to take some notes. And when we're all done here, there will be an opportunity to share some feedback with me. And in return for that, you'll get a worksheet that will help you refine your forever offer and create your first idea virus, and then a GPT prompt that will help you turn your forever offer into variations of an idea virus. The whole point here is what I'm hoping is that over the course of this next 30 minutes or so, that you'll be able to design, draft, and launch your first idea virus. Turn your big idea into a very short manifesto based on your forever offer that you can immediately launch into the world. And this is all, by the way, a preview of the workshop coming up for Circle and Inner Circle members in October. It's the second Tuesday of October, and that is going to be a continuation of what you're going to learn here today. So just a little bit of context. Most of you that are here, especially if you're Inner Circle or Circle members, are familiar with the idea of a forever offer. This is a perennial, evolving way of showing up in the world that doesn't require a power offer format or a no-brainer format. It's a way that you talk about what you do and how you do it and why you do it so that the right people are attracted to that offer. And we also talk about Be a Blessing marketing webs. How are we engineering the experience so that the right people can get to the place where we can have the most clear and direct, anticipated, relevant conversation with them. And then this is all to help facilitate your client or customer attraction system, which we use the close the gap method to help create a system made up of just the essential elements and then optimize that system by raising the floor on whichever pieces of that system are least efficient. So all of these things are working together in a way that has been very successful for people that have been clients. Sandra is one of them. Penny is currently one of them. Bree is currently one of them. MJ has been subjected to being a client in the past. Even Paul and I have had a conversation. So you've experienced some of this at some level at some time. So one of the things that has happened over the last couple of weeks is I've been revisiting some of the older content from my friend and mentor and a mutual friend and mentor to many of you, Seth Godin. And one of the very first things he put out into the world was the idea of permission marketing. This was at the very beginning of email actually even being a thing. And the punchline of permission marketing is that you can earn awareness, attention, permission, and trust with people by delivering anticipated, relevant, and personal messages to them. And even though the idea makes sense to a lot of people and a lot of people like that idea, he received a lot of questions like, how do I get permission? How do I share my idea with people so that I can get their permission to have anticipated, relevant, personal discussions with them? So he wrote this book called the Ideavirus. It is available for free, a PDF download on Seth's blog. Just put Ideavirus into the search of his blog. And as I was listening to the audio version of the book over the last week or so, I realized that this really maps beautifully over the entire purpose-driven prosperity model. Forever offer, be a blessing marketing web, close the gap client attraction system. And so what I'm going to do today is just walk you through the first step of what we will cover again and expand upon in October when we talk about the entirety of the Ideavirus idea system, so that we can not only create our Ideavirus, but we can launch it into the world in the way that gives us the best chance for success in reaching the right people. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so I've already covered the table setting and so forth. Again, in the next half hour, my hope is that you will be able to design a first draft of your first Ideavirus, a way of packaging what you do, what your offer is, what your process is, what your product or service is, in a way that turns that big idea into a short manifesto based on your forever offer that you can immediately start testing in the wild. And again, this is a preview of the workshop coming up in October. So this will give you a head start on the things that we're going to be doing. Again, just a reminder, at the end, you'll be given the opportunity to provide some feedback. If you do that, I'm going to give you a workshop and a GPT prompt that will help you get all of this stuff done in very short order. So for those of you that are not familiar with what an Ideavirus is, the the definition that Seth talks about in his book, Unleash the Ideavirus, is an Ideavirus is a contagious idea, product, or service designed to spread because people want to share it. It's a way of packaging an idea, a service, a product, an offer in a way that makes it instantly understood and shareable, and it incentivizes people to share that idea with each other. So it's a way of putting together the story, the promise, and the experience of what it's like to engage with your offer, your product or service, and have people share it for them. So some examples that Seth uses in his book: the Hotmail footer, even though, so this was written back when Hotmail was actually a thing. Not many of us have Hotmail addresses anymore, but they had a little tagline at the bottom of every email that went out that said, get your free email at Hotmail. So every time you sent an email, you were spreading Hotmail's Ideavirus free email for everybody. And people could just click on a link and sign up for their own Hotmail account. A Ideavirus doesn't have to be a text-based way of packaging your idea. Mac products, Ideavirus is baked into the design. Steve Jobs was obsessed with the design of all of his products, starting with the mouse and the original original iMac desktop, the evolution of the desktop, the iPad, the iPhone, the laptops, and so forth. These all have very elegant, sleek, eye-catching designs that create visual sneezes, a way of visually sneezing Steve Jobs's and Apple's Ideavirus around the world. So one of the things that we're going to also pause and talk about here is one of my current rants is this idea of building a business without the digital marketing BS. Why do we spend so much time trying to create an ideal customer avatar and then create a power offer that calls that ideal customer avatar out based on demographics and psychographics and pain points that we can dig into to get them to take an action we want them to take on a sales or on an opt-in page, where we're then going to put them into a email sequence and a nurture sequence and churn them around and dig in their pain until they come to a sales page with a button on it, and then press and purchase that sale. If you know anything about funnels, if you've ever designed a funnel, then you know that funnels are inherently very ineffective and inefficient. And when I say very ineffective and inefficient, the very best funnels, the ones that are designed by professionals, are unlikely to get better than a 2% conversion rate from the time someone opts into a webinar funnel or a sales page funnel, going through the receiving the freebie, going through the email sequence, going through the nurture sequence, hitting the webinar or and then sales page, and then purchasing. That entire funnel has a 2% conversion rate. 2 out of every 100 people that opt in will buy. And so you can imagine that if, depending on the size of your offer, you're going to need a lot of people to come into the top of that funnel, which means you're probably going to have to spend money on ads. So you're going to spend a large amount of money, spend a significant amount of time on just the construction of the funnel with the email sequences and the landing pages and the split testing the buttons and the calls to action. Then you're going to have to create content that you post and design for each individual platform that you're trying to get the word out on. And then all the tweaking and iteration and so forth that goes on after that. If you think about the amount of time, attention, money, and effort that goes into your standard funnel, it doesn't take you very long to understand the math is really imbalanced. You spend way more of your time on all this digital marketing BS than you do doing the work that you actually started your business to do in the first place. So instead of a funnel, the promise of the Ideavirus is, instead of trying to trick a bunch of people out of their email address so you can force them and dig into their pain and create false urgency and scarcity to jam them through this funnel where 98% minimum will leak out so that you can get those 2% sales, 2 out of 100 sales at the end. An Ideavirus says you package the idea and you share it to whatever your hive is, whatever your audience is, in a way that it becomes a sticky, contagious, self-spreading idea where the people that you initially infect with the virus will spread it amongst themselves. So your big idea, which is the language of Seth Godin in Unleashing the Ideavirus, I would say that comes down to your forever offer. And what you're doing with an Ideavirus is you're boiling that big idea down into one repeatable promise. Okay. And just some things to think about when you're looking at either your forever offer or your Ideavirus. Okay. And these are all things we've talked about in the past. You can go back to previous trainings. Don't be a solution in search of a problem. I help people save their marriages is a solution in search of a problem. Saving your marriage is a situation. And you're not going to solve someone's situation with an email sequence or a checklist or a blueprint. It's a situation that's made of a bunch of problems. So we have to remember that, there's a distinction between problems, which are specific, measurable, solvable, and solvable within a reasonable timeline, and situations, which are poorly defined. They are not specific. They cannot be solved in any kind of tight timeline. And they are things that have to go through an iterative process in order to solve. So solution versus problem. And then another thing that we talked about in the past is, where's the vacuum in your market that you can fill? Where instead of trying to niche your way into a market by demographics, psychographics, features and benefits of your offer, how can you stand up in your market and stand within the gap or the hole or the vacuum in that market where nobody else is serving either a need or serving the need in a specific way. And then the final idea here is based on the marketing seminar and Seth's book, This is Marketing, which is the marketing trifecta. As you're thinking about your offer and your idea virus, what change are you trying to make? What's the transformation on offer? What's the result that you get? Who is it for specifically? What's the smallest viable audience of people that will benefit from colliding with your offer? And then what's the promise? What promise are you making? What's the promise that you can make and keep? What can they expect as a result of engaging with your product or service? So those are all things to just kind of think about. Here's a very specific tactical prompt that we have used for creating a forever offer. And this is based on Clay Ebert's perfect introduction framework. And that is, I help whoever it is you help, however you define your audience or the market, do whatever it is that you help them do so they can get whatever the result is. So that framework can be really powerful and really easy to get started. For Penny, for instance, we've gone through many iterations of just, how do we create this idea of a simple statement of what we do, who it's for, and the result that we get for people. And there are alternatives to this, and there are iterations of this. It doesn't have to be this simple, but again, very different from a power offer, which is going to call out a very niched demographic, psychographic of person and pinpoint a very specific outcome and give them a outlandish promise of result. So when you see people saying, well, I help high ticket coaches go from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, that's a power offer. What you want to do with a forever offer is, it's not about announcing necessarily a specific person, a specific thing, and a specific result. What you really want to do is pique curiosity. And so when I first started moving from just a generalized, I help people get where they want to go type of thing on Substack, as solopreneurs became clearly the audience that I was most resonating with and that was most eager for the kind of solutions that I could provide, the kind of problems I could solve. My first version was, I help solopreneurs optimize their business to fund and fit their ideal lifestyle. Now, that's not as specific, and the promise is not as bold as your typical power offer. It's not going to invoke a bunch of curiosity. If you do identify as a solopreneur, as an independent entrepreneur, then you might be interested in optimizing your existing business to better fund and fit your ideal lifestyle. But what I did was, over time, I distilled that down to another one of Clay Ebert's formula, which is, I am X for Y. I'm a cornerman for solopreneurs, or solopreneur cornerman. And there is a statement that is interesting because I'm using a word that's not usually ever associated in business, cornerman. And so I am initiating curiosity. If you're a solopreneur and you are looking for help with your business and you've seen the movie Rocky, like, maybe you're a little bit interested and a little bit intrigued and like, well, that sounds kind of cool. That sounds interesting. Tell me more about what you do. So a forever offer is a way that you show up and do your thing and let people watch, so that the right people will be curious enough to take a step into your ecosystem, your Be a Blessing marketing web, so you can initiate conversations with them. So turning a forever offer, like either one of those that I just shared for me, into an idea virus, you have to choose your medium. Okay, so again, it doesn't have to be a tagline. It could be an image. You know, Bree is here. Bree loves memes. She could create an idea virus that's a meme. A meme is highly spreadable. That's, I mean, we've all seen Lawrence Fishburne in his Morpheus sunglasses saying, "What if I told you?" Right? And we see these things spreading all the time. That's an example of a meme-based or image-based idea virus. As a musician, I'm very familiar with the idea of creating idea viruses with the opening riff of a song. Like if you think of the Rolling Stones, I can't get no satisfaction. As soon as you hear, you know what's coming next. Your product or service can also be packaged into just the product itself or the packaging of the product or the process itself or the packaging of the products could be an idea virus for the last several months. The purpose-driven prosperity model operating system has been an idea virus that I've been using to try to get people interested in and spreading the forever offer framework and the Be a Blessing marketing framework and the close the gap process. I'm going to encourage you to start with a text-based manifesto. This is, again, words that are used by Seth Godin in the Ideavirus. What's the big idea that's baked into your product or service expressed through your forever offer that you can turn into a sticky, contagious, shareable message, 10 words or fewer, so that other people can hear it, see it, understand it, and share it. So very recently, in part because I've been revisiting this concept from Seth Godin, my idea virus has become business success without digital marketing BS. So we've talked quite frequently about, niching versus positioning. And that niching is not necessary. In fact, it's better if you start with positioning. Who are you? What are your guiding beliefs? What are your values? What are your guiding principles? What are your talents? What are the instinctive things that you are great at? The soft skills, the real skills, and the skills that you learned in school and on the job that reflect that inherent talent of yours. And how can you frame the way that you show up in the marketplace, be your positioning, be your message, be the attraction mechanism for the people that share your values and need your talents and skills to enhance their lives. That's the difference between niching and positioning. Positioning reflects who you really are, what you're really good at, and where you really belong. Guiding principles and values, skills and talents, and where are the places where there are people that need your skills, share your values, and need your skills to enhance their lives. That's positioning. And niching is where you're saying, for left-handed nurses in Cleveland, Ohio, I have a scalpel ergonomically designed for the next time you do brain surgery, right? It's a completely different kind of thing. You're trying to differentiate on features and benefits as opposed on values and talents. So one is a way of calling people out and then dragging them into your offer. Another way is a way of showing up, doing your thing, and trusting that the right people will resonate with what you are saying and doing and ask you for more. So that whole idea of business success without digital marketing BS, it's all baked in there. Yes, I can help you optimize your business. And you don't have to learn any new digital marketing hacks, tricks, tactics, or tools. There's no new blueprints or roadmaps or strategies. You can actually build a business just by showing up and doing your thing and letting people watch, and the right people will be attracted to you, and you will be able to, through a process of helping them get clear about what they're trying to accomplish and all the things that they can stop doing and how to improve the few things that they need to do, they can start to collapse time to target and accomplish the things that they want to accomplish or solve the problems that they want to solve. So as you're thinking about your own idea virus, what's the one line you'd stake your reputation on? What's one thing that you can say that you know you can deliver, that you can promise that if someone engages with your idea, your process, your product, they can expect to experience as an outcome. So notice we're not doing like the no-brainer thing, like I'll 10x your revenue in 90 days or double your money back. That's a no-brainer offer. It's very hard to make promises like that because you're making a promise with the expectation, just like a funnel, that people will behave as rational agents of their own destiny, and they won't because people are confused and conflicted and get distracted and are full of biases and and cognitive distortions and false narratives, and they'll get off track and they'll get bored and they'll get scared and they'll not do things. And if you want to engineer offers that make people turn in their homework and, you know, pay mark how far into your content they've read and so on and so forth, that's fine. But that's what you're going to have to do if you're going to keep people's money when they don't get the result that you promised them because they didn't engage with your content the way that they had to get the result. And then the other thing that you can think about is, does it pass the repeat test? Could someone else share what I just shared with them to their audience, to their circle of connections, to their networks? Um, so again, your forever offer is the virus. The Ideavirus manifesto is how it spreads. So we are going to again talk about all of this, the next steps and the additional steps in the next workshop. So when we're talking about an idea virus, we are talking about the packaging of an offer, which the medium is the word that Seth uses, and the medium informs and inspires the smoothness and the velocity of how it spreads, how quickly and smoothly and quick it spreads to the hive, the market. There's different kinds of people spreading your virus for you. Seth calls them sneezers. There's the promiscuous sneezers and the powerful sneezers. And then we have to look at things like velocity, life cycle, and permission. We're going to get into all of that next time. But for right now, if you refine your forever offer and you start to iterate and test some idea viruses, some ways of getting that message to be seen, heard, understood, and shared by other people, you'll be well positioned to take advantage for the rest of these concepts that we'll talk about in October. So for those of you that are here as free subscribers, we're grateful that you're here. If you want to attend next month's workshop, you will need to upgrade your subscription to the Circle or Inner Circle for that access. For Circle members, you always get access to the live workshop and 48 hours of time to review the replay. And for those of you that are Inner Circle members, which is the majority of the folks that are here, you're going to get the all access pass, which means that you'll get the edited and enhanced replay, you'll get the presentation notes, you'll get the worksheet, and you'll get a Cornerman GPT prompt that allows you to implement everything that you learn in the workshop with the greatest ease and velocity. So my closing line is, funnels are where ideas and offers go to die. When you go with a funnel, you are ensuring that you will not be working with 98% of the people that come into your funnel, minimum. That's if you're really good at funnel hacking. In order to thrive and serve, an offer needs to grow. It needs to spread. So I just shared this process for how you can create the seed that you want to sow. And in the next few weeks, we'll talk about how to cultivate and nurture the spreadability of that idea virus that you're going to come up with. So the last step for you all is learning sticks when you share it. So I'm going to conduct this little experiment. I need to switch screens here for just a minute. I have created a Substack note, and I would love if you would provide me with a little feedback. If you go to this note on Substack, it gives you clear instructions to just share your biggest lesson, aha, insight, or takeaway from this workshop. And if you do that, I have a worksheet that will help you refine your forever offer, will help you start to ideate your first idea viruses, and then a GPT prompt that works best with the Cornerman GPT that Circle and Inner Circle members have access to, but you can use it in any Claude or Chat GPT, and it'll still probably give you some pretty good stuff. And that will, if you put in the prompt, it'll walk you through the entire process. And that is the end of the presentation.